Dominic, Louisville, Kentucky, XM Satellite. Go.
Hey, Mark, I was just wondering, you just said this is the greatest country on the face of the planet, and I don't understand, what are the qualifications of such a grand designation, and who sets the qualifications?
What do you mean, who sets the qualifications? You are surrounded... Pal, I'm answering your question. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You're absolutely... You sound so... Yeah, hold on. You sound so brilliant to me. Go ahead. I'll tell you what, pal. You're such a genius. I'm going to hold you over to the next segment, okay? Well, back to Dominic. Go ahead, Dominic.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to clarify something before you try to pigeonhole me into something that I'm not. I was born and raised in America, and I love this country. This is all I know. But I've been blessed enough to be able to visit other countries here in the last 10 to 15 years, and I've come away with great experiences and memories of these places.
So what does that have to do with anything?
What makes America so much better than Fiji?
Well, which countries have you visited? Now, sir, if you're going to keep talking over me, one great thing that happens in this country is I'm going to get rid of you.
Well,
what countries have you visited, Dominic?
I've been to Mexico, Canada, I've been to the Bahamas, I've been to Fiji, I've been to that's about it, really.
Let me ask you something. Have you been to Eastern Europe?
No, sir, I haven't.
Let me ask you something else. Have you ever been to Nicaragua?
No, sir, but I'd like to.
Have you been to Grenada or Grenada?
No, sir, I haven't, but I don't understand.
Well, you'll understand in a minute.
Okay.
Well, let me be specific. Have you ever been to Germany?
No, sir, but a lot of my family has.
I'm not asking about your family. I'm talking to you.
Well,
Have you ever been to Russia?
Pretty nice, you know.
Have you ever been to Russia?
No, sir, I haven't.
You ever been to France? Pal. Have you ever been to France?
No, sir.
You ever been to Japan?
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay, well, let me educate you. You've been to a lot of very lovely places. Fiji, the Bahamas, you went to Mexico. In other words, you've been on vacation, pretty much.
Yes.
Let me explain something to you. Japan, Germany. You ever been to Italy?
No, sir, would love to go.
Good. Well, you'd love to go now because we fought a war and defeated the fascist regime that ran Italy. We fought a war, and pal, this is the problem I have with people, particularly people who call me and question what I said. And when I try to respond, you can't wait to jump in. What were you going to say?
I was asking how long ago that was. I mean, is that the same Italy as it is today?
That may be a little over half a century. Why? Is that too fast for you?
Well, I just don't understand.
Let me explain something to you. Some of our ancestors fought in these wars. We saved the Western world, the Western way of life, by defeating Hitler and Mussolini and Tojo and destroying the Soviet Union and fighting and supporting freedom fighters in Latin America. Maybe you didn't see that when you were in Fiji and in the Bahamas and in Mexico and so forth. Maybe you haven't seen a lot of that. Maybe when you see what happens with Mother Nature in parts of the world with tsunamis and earthquakes and everything, who sends the United States military there? Not to conquer, but to feed people, whether it's Haiti and so forth. Have you noticed any of that, sir?
I know the history of it.
Well, I'm telling you why you live in the greatest country of the world, you big dummy. I didn't say it's a perfect country. It's the greatest country. And if you don't get it, maybe you ought to do a little bit more traveling. But rather to go to the little vacation sites, maybe you ought to go to Germany and look at Dachau. Maybe you ought to go to Italy and look at the mountains where we lost Yanks up and down those mountains. Maybe you ought to go to Okinawa and take a little peek, you big dummy. Now to quote Governor Chris Christie, get the hell off the beach. Chris, that's the only time I'll ever quote you, by the way. Those words are immortal. Get the hell off the beach. Don't you think, Mr. Producer? Not bad. I'll remember those words. But he couldn't wait. He wanted to interrupt me endlessly. I went to Fiji. Gee willikers. I went to the Bahamas. I've been to the Bahamas. Great. I love the Bahamas. What do they produce? I don't know. When you're looking to defend liberty, the first country that comes to my mind is the Bahamas. I have nothing against the Bahamas. I know you can hear me out there. Just relax. If the Bahamas are threatened, we come to their defense. But this is the problem, folks. You have people living in the lap of liberty and are such a magnificent history. We are such a powerful country. And despite what Ron Paul says, and despite what the left says, we're not going around conquering countries. Marxism, communism, the source of misery and murder and barbarism like the modern world has never seen. That was given birth in Europe, not in America. Fascism, completely alien to America. And I can go on and on. How about yesterday, what was done to Gaddafi? I hold no brief for that barbarian, and that's exactly what he was. But if American soldiers had fought their way to that sewer pipe, if some of them had died and been severely injured fighting their way to that sewer pipe, they wouldn't have molested him and tortured him and shot him in the back of the head the way that those rebels did. Don't tell me we're not the greatest country on the face of the earth. There are other great countries. There is no country like this one. I can't think of another time, maybe somebody else can, in human history where a nation so powerful has used its power for good. And I have this jerk telling me he's been to Fiji, the Bahamas, Mexico, and Canada. And I love Canada. Many, many friends in Canada. I love HGTV. Most of that's produced in Canada. Canada Free Press, one of the greatest news outlets that exist. But all that aside, I'm saying visits Canada. Where he hasn't visited are all the hellholes all over the world. Awful lot of people who've come to this country illegally who obviously think it's a pretty damn good country. But we have too many people who are born here, and they're born here stupid. And so when you hear somebody like that, no wonder they don't defend the Constitution. They don't give a damn. I'm underwater. Somebody owes me. Get the banks. Kill the rich. Do the this. Do the that. And this is where it comes from. No sense of connection with our past. None. Freddie, Las Vegas, Nevada. Great Sirius satellite. Home of one of my favorite shows, The Pawn Stars. My man Rick. Go ahead.
Hey, Mark, I just wanted to make a comment to that last caller. Having a father who was in the military, we were stationed in Europe for about 16 years. Germany, England, Greece, Italy, Turkey. Lived in Japan for 2 years. And they're great places to visit, but if you live there, you see a completely different world of what those type people are, what those governments impose on those people, and it's not a lot of fun, especially if you get sick.
Well, he's been to Fiji, my friend. He's a world traveler, and then he hopped over to the Bahamas. Then he came back, he visited Mexico, and then he hopped over to Canada. So he's seen the world.
Not through the eyes that I've seen it, and it's definitely different than what every time we came back to the States, we just realized how appreciative we were of what we have here. You know, and we're slowly, people don't realize this, but we're slowly going the way of Europe, and it's really sad.
And by the way, not the good parts of Europe either.
Correct, absolutely.
All right, my friend, take care. And by the way, I harbor no ill will toward Japan or Germany or so forth. What I'm saying is, if you're in this country, you're born in this country, and you enjoy the freedoms of this country, fought for not by you, that caller, but by somebody else's brother and sister, somebody else's father and mother, somebody else's grandfather and so forth, then you are benefiting from something you had almost nothing to do with. And yet, you're so quick to say, oh, by whose standards? By whose standards is this the greatest country in the world? Well, by the standards of people who could get here, flee here if they could. And by the way, that's throughout American history. Throughout American history. No, we're not a perfect country because we're not a perfect people because no people are perfect, but we're the most perfect in the sense that we try to right our wrongs. We try to correct our injustices. Sometimes it's too slow. Sometimes it's not enough. That's the nature of man, period. But take a look at history. Good Lord. Absolutely we're at the top of that pyramid, the very, very tip.